On today's episode, Mexican officials reveal new details on Giga Mexico, a new update on the Gigafactory Nevada expansion, and Tesla reveals the secret of Giga Shanghai's record production speed. Investor Day presentation on March 1st, Tesla announced their next Gigafactory will be located in Nuevo León, Mexico, near the city of Monterrey. Now, in the days since that reveal, we are learning the details of what that next generation factory will look like, and the scale of this project is epic. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador actually confirmed the decision on February 28th, the day before Tesla's announcement. Monterrey is very close to the US-Mexico border, where Tesla already has an exclusive customs gate, so the position is just about perfect. Obviously, Mexican officials are very excited for this project, which is probably why most of the information about the new Gigafactory comes from them. Thanks to them, though, we know that the new facility is going to sit on land purchased from a private owner instead of from the government, but more importantly, that the footprint is monstrous. 4,200 acres of land is expected to be the size of the site. Probably not to begin with, as Tesla is known to build in phases. Regardless, that's nearly double the almost 2,500 acres that Tesla's Giga Austin sits on. So we are looking at an absolutely colossal facility. To go along with that, we know that the Mexican government was concerned about the amount of strain this factory would put on the local water. But Tesla has had a lot of practice with water conservation thanks to Giga Berlin and will reportedly be making use of recycled water. The largest amount of interest for local officials, though, is the promise of jobs. They say that Tesla is looking to make an initial investment of $5 billion to hire around 5,000 workers, and as the facility expands, officials say that Tesla is expected to spend a total of $10 billion to hire 10,000 workers. That's the sort of hiring that can really change the local economy, so we can see why the Mexican government is so happy. Tesla itself hasn't said much about the new facility other than to release a render of the finished site, like they have done for other facilities in the past, and to say that this location will be used to produce the new vehicle platform outlined in CEO Elon Musk's Master Plan, Part 3. This new platform is definitely what has people excited about this new Gigafactory. Tesla is very light on the details, but luckily here, Tesla's chief designer Franz von Holzhausen gives us some clues. On January 15th, Franz appeared on an episode of the Ride the Lightning podcast. Over the course of the interview, he detailed a bunch of Tesla design procedures and hinted at some new projects, namely the Model 3 Highland, and some work he was doing on the Model S and the Tesla Roadster, the latter of which Franz mentioned was not a high priority for the company right now. Obviously, Franz couldn't say very much, if anything, on those projects at that point, but it was clear something was going on. Rumors and some hints from Tesla itself about a new, cheaper vehicle design has been popping up more and more in the last couple of months, and thanks to the announcement of the new vehicle platform at Investor Day, we now know why. During his portion of the presentation, von Holzhausen, along with his colleague Lars Moravai, detailed an entirely new production procedure that Tesla was looking to implement in the next year. They started by speaking of the evolution of the company's production lines, including the time period they called Model 3 production hell. They detail how awkward the assembly process is and how they want to innovate. They realized that if Tesla wants to scale, they needed to change this method, so they started doing that. Von Holzhausen detailed how they changed that with the introduction of the structural battery pack and how they plan to refine the new process in the next year with the things they've been learning with the Cybertruck's pre-production. This is where we see what they say will be the defining process of the new Tesla vehicle platform. The two designers on stage walk us through the idea of constructing vehicles in smaller sub-assemblies, then fitting those together in stages that allow for maximum efficiency of movement for both robot and human assembly teams to work at the same time. The two boast that this new arrangement results in a 40% reduction in the amount of space needed for manufacturing areas and a 50% reduction in cost just from time saved. There's a lot of work being done across Tesla facilities this year, so it's likely that we're going to see this implemented company-wide. But starting fresh with a new factory would be an ideal way to test this procedure out before committing to a reformat that would likely require a shutdown for at least a couple of weeks. Reports aren't clear on when exactly Tesla is going to break ground for the new Gigafactory, but Mexican officials say within the next 3 months, and that tracks with how quickly Tesla likes to move once things are announced. 3 months also puts the timeline for Giga Mexico at around the same time as Cybertruck production is due to begin, so it looks like it's going to be a very busy summer for Tesla. Tesla is getting ready to move ahead with their surprise expansion of their Gigafactory in Nevada as the local government has officially granted approval for a $330 million tax break to support that work. On February 27th, Tesla revealed details of an upgrade to the Nevada facility, which would include 2 new manufacturing facilities, one for the Tesla Semi and one to produce the company's very important 4680 battery cell. In return, Tesla will be getting a tax break that will be funneling $330 million over the course of the next 20 years. It will come in the form of some very handy incentives, like not having to pay taxes on their Nevada property for the next decade, not being required to pay the local taxes on employee wages, and a reduction in sales taxes for the entire 20-year duration. But Tesla isn't getting this break for free. In return for these incentives, Tesla has to commit to creating 3,000 jobs at the facility, which will pay an average of $33.94 per hour. They will also have to build a childcare facility for their employees, complete with a shuttle service to get to and from the factory, something Tesla already does in other facilities. This expansion and the required commitment to hiring and building the childcare facility will represent a more than $3.6 billion investment by Tesla, while this tax break will reportedly add up to about $1 billion in total spent by the Nevada government on helping Tesla develop the site since talks began back in 2014. Now, this isn't overly surprising news, at least in terms of the conditions for the tax break. The Nevada government obviously wants to keep supporting the Gigafactory as it generates a decent amount of revenue for the state. What is surprising is the suddenness of the announcement. The details were sealed under an NDA until Tesla unveiled them at the end of February. But usually there's some small leak or something leading up to this sort of announcement, so good on Tesla for keeping this under wraps. To be fair, there is a lot currently going on in the Tesla ecosystem right now, but during the Investor Day event on March 1st, CEO Elon Musk was very clear that production was going to be ramping up across all of the company's facilities this year, so this deal was likely in the works for a couple of months alongside the new Giga Mexico announcement. A new video showing the production lines at Giga Shanghai has been posted by Chinese media, and aside from showing off some very clean factory setups, this video has Tesla employees discussing the blistering pace of assembly. The 26-minute video posted by state media outlet Xinhua has us viewers follow along with a tour of the Model Y assembly areas in Tesla's Shanghai facility. We get a great look at the production lines, which are all at least assisted by robots, if not fully run by them, but it's the procedures that the tour guides discussed that were the most interesting. Specifically, when asked about assembly times, the tour guide estimates that from the first build station to the last, it takes roughly 2.5 hours to fully assemble a Model Y at the Giga Shanghai facility, which is just insanely fast. But as the tour progresses through the facility, you can definitely see how it's accomplished. The average vehicle production line can usually complete a car every 18 hours or so. But with the level of automation in a Tesla factory, things can get done simultaneously. For instance, we get a good shot of production lines that aren't directly part of the assembly stations, like the door fabrication line. That seems to be operating alongside the other work. And that seems to be the overall philosophy of work in that factory. In the background, we can see robots maneuvering vehicles in various states of completion through the area, and in the welding stations, we can see that material is passed from vertical areas down to the stations and back up to the higher lines for transport to the next station. With all the fresh talk about Tesla's production procedures brought on by the Investor Day event on March 1st, it's easy to see where the company has been getting their new ideas from. Chief designer Franz von Holzhausen talked about the development of this process in his presentation at that event, and while it seems like Shanghai hasn't started operating in the way Franz was discussing, you can definitely see the roots of it in the Xinhua piece. Regardless, the high level of automation present in Shanghai is very cool to watch and definitely shows why the facility is Tesla's best performing factory. The tour guide mentions that Giga Shanghai is likely at the peak of its capacity currently, but if it manages to get updated to operate in the way Tesla detailed in their Investor Day presentation, they could possibly even get more value out of their already hyper-efficient space.